Hi everybody, and for those of you who don't know me, my name's Kat and I run the Busy Bitch Diet. And I want to talk about something that's really hacked me off over the last 24 hours. And I keep promising myself I'm going to stop doing videos like this, but I feel compelled that it almost becomes like a matter for me of it being down to truth, honesty, and giving a more balanced perspective on some of the things that you see. So I'm going to talk about Slimming World again today, and I've done a couple of videos on it. And for those of you who don't know, let me give you a quick kind of brief rundown of my history. I spent 15 years working in weight loss. A bulk of that was for Weight Watchers. Then I became pregnant, stopped working for them. Then I went back to and joined Slimming World. I was a member there for 2 years before they convinced me to become a consultant. I was a consultant with multiple franchises for over 2 years. So I feel like I have a bit of, I suppose, an insight and an authority, I suppose, into this. Plus, my professional background outside of that is all around kind of marketing and understanding the spin that goes on. And I honestly feel that one of the things that is really important is to take the things that we see in the press and give it a little bit of a balance. And this is something that is all over social media at the moment. It's being pushed by consultants left, right, and centre. And I want to just raise the other side of it, because there is nothing truer than lies, damn lies, and statistics. So when you see a statistic and you see something by someone who's deemed to be an authority, you end up believing it without perhaps looking at the rest of the information. So I want to explore that, okay? So the thing that's floating around is that they've done a survey that says 81% of members learnt to cut calories without counting calories. Now, I've got some issues with this. My first issue is, how can possibly members know whether they've cut their calories without counting calories? Because Slimming World doesn't ever talk about calories. It talks about needing to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. It doesn't talk about calories. There is no way on their plan, from their materials, that you could possibly know the calorie consumption that you are having. You couldn't possibly know if you're in a calorie deficit because they never talk about it. Any member is not given the number of calories they need a day or how to get a deficit or anything about calories at all. It's a word that's bandied around on occasion. And I gather from those who were members earlier on in the year that they did a whole session around why calorie counting is bad for members. Like, it screams desperation. So if you don't know what a calorie deficit is, let me explain it. Each one of us, each individual person, has an individual number of calories that you need to be able to maintain, lose, or gain weight. So your maintenance level would be your basal metabolic rate, the amount your body needs a day to be able to simply survive, multiplied by the amount of activity that you do. That gives you an individual number. It'll be different to the person sat next to you. It'll be different to the person sat opposite you at work. It's based on your height, age, gender, weight, and how active you are. So it has to be kind of specific to you. So that's your individual number. From that, we then reduce the number of calories per day to give you a deficit that allows you to lose weight. Current scientific thinking is you need around 3,500 calories to lose a pound in weight. That's fundamentally how it works. Anyway, back to Slimming World for a second. So I've done some digging, partly because I know where the rest of the research lies, so I can pull out some of the things that concern me about the latest report that they've shoved up. In their own published report in the past, so this is their published research by people on their payroll, let's be honest, they put that in a big kind of study, or a study they did, not a big one, like it had like 100 people in it, in a study that they had done, that even the people following their plan, when they counted the number of calories for them against someone that they had no support, who was left to their own devices entirely, was then doing whilst trying to reduce calories without the same level of support. No person like me or a nutritionist or a PT, these are just Joe Blogs off the street, then told to come in and calorie count fundamentally. The average consumption by Slimming World members, hand-picked Slimming World members, was 1,901 calories per day. Now, those are under very special circumstances. You can imagine they are, being given they know that they're being monitored. They know that they are choosing from the best kind of plans. They're even given food to eat on a day and it being monitored. Like, it's not like real life out on the street. Now, why is that number significant? Well, my friends, I need 1,476 calories a day to lose weight, to maintain my deficit. If I was on 1,900 calories a day, it would take me over 35 days to lose a pound. 1 whole pound. 35 days. That's why it's significant, because if you're not counting them and you don't know if you're in a deficit, how the heck could you possibly know if you're going to lose weight? So if their average on their own published study is 1900, when, by the way, the NHS, if you can't or don't want to work out your individual one, their recommended guidelines for women is 1400 calories a day. That means that Slimming World members in their own published research were having 500 calories a day more than the NHS would recommend. That's bonkers, don't you think? But they're not telling you that part of the story. They only told you that the people that were in their study who were Slimming World members were having less calories than the other people. Whoop-de-flippin' do. If it's still more calories than you need, you still ain't going to lose weight. Other research published by then. So they talk about the fact that that people who were calorie counting only managed to do it for around 4 months, 16 weeks. So why is this significant? Well, in some other published research by Slimming World in 2015, again by people all on their books, all paid for by them, they had 1.3 million members at the time. 35% of those members, so 478,000, managed to attend over 75% of sessions during that 14-week period, which means a whopping 65% of members, so 877,000 members, managed less than 75%. So their average, if you didn't hit the magical 75, therefore you weren't in the high achieving category, was just 5 sessions, an average of just over 5 sessions out of 14. That's 877,333 people who attended less than 75 sessions, even with the financial penalties of not attending group, either because you've paid for it all up front or because for every week you miss that you don't tell your consultant, you have to pay back fees. And you only get a certain number of holiday weeks, and you would have used them up all within those 9 weeks, and some you'd still have to pay, or you'd have to rejoin. So even knowing it's going to cost you, they still didn't rock up. So 16 weeks, I would say, when like 2/3 of their membership are only managing 5 weeks in 14, on average, I would say is a massive improvement, wouldn't you? Like, I would punt for 16 weeks of giving something a go than 5. Personally. Like, if only 1/3 of your members are managing more than that, there's an issue there, isn't there? Let's talk about their weight then, because that's the other thing that they kind of talk about. Of the 478,000 who did manage 75% attendance, their average weight loss was 0.48 kilograms per week. That's a pound a week, just over 1.05 pounds per week. So over the 14 sessions in total, that means they would have lost around about a pound. I find that interesting because in group, they never kind of see that a pound is acceptable. They always want 2, 3, 4. In fact, as consultants, we are trained to pick out the people we know are going to give us the biggest weight loss and start with them. So if you've got someone who's going to go, I'm going to lose 3 pounds this week, then it encourages everyone else to punt higher. It's called groupthink. It's what they actually teach their consultants. Let's look at the others, the bulk of them. That's 65%. So the 877,000, that's 65%, who didn't manage the 75 pendants, who only attended an average 5 sessions, over that same 14-week period, their weight loss worked out to be 0.16 kilograms a week, or just over 1/3 of a pound, 0.35 of a pound, which means in 14 weeks, they lost a staggering 5 pounds. The total cost to them for that £5, if they'd bought a countdown, which is the cheapest way to go, and then paid for the other 2 remaining weeks, so if they'd done that, would have cost them £59.40 to lose £5. That is £10 a pound. Nope, don't remember that in their marketing. In the survey, there's no data that I can find as it stands at the moment. But I stand by the fact, if you don't know the calories that you're having, how can you possibly know if you've cut them? It's so easy to go over your calories while being on plan. You have unlimited pasta, rice, chicken, beef, bacon as long as you've cut the fat off it. Like, as many eggs as you like. You can have the best part of 30 of some Muller Lights and other yogurts in a day and still be within your sins. I personally, on days that I could calculate, could have easily reached over 2,000 calories a day and still be 100% on plan. There is no portion control. There is no guidance as to how much you should be eating a day. You're simply told you can have unlimited amounts of free food. So yes, that free food may be more nutritious. May. That's the big question. It also encourages you to overeat on everything, whether that is fruit and veg or whether that is meat and potatoes and pasta, because you're not having to keep a check on anything. So how can that possibly be seen as an idolized if you're teaching no portion control? In fact, the biggest criticism from any medical society when they look at Slimming World is the lack of portion control that it teaches. And by being on such a restricted thing where you have not only you sinning, which is a particularly negative connotation anyway, but not only you sinning by having anything that's not on that list and not within your healthy extras, but you're also in this position of the binge. The results in, I'm over my sins for the day, that's it, I've blown it, it's an all or nothing, it's bust or boom. So you end up in this situation, and I have dozens of members who tell me this all the time. They would go half a sin over, that's it, they've blown it, the floodgates would open, they would fill themselves with food. So that's not healthy either. Now, I can't say that Slimming World doesn't work for some people. It does. And some people want the accountability and the drama of going and standing on the scales and then having a consultant talking to them. They came to my groups, I did exactly the same. What I'm saying is there is another way. And yes, calorie counting historically has been something where you just had an app and no support. Times are changing. There are more people out there who are nutrition coaches who can support you. There are nutritionists, there are personal trainers, there are people like me delivering sessions week in, week out to be able to support people to be able to lose weight. I don't have any data yet. Not significant data I can hold up to these. I'm too small, but I'm honest enough to say that. I have incredible members. They've lost 71.5 stone in the 3 months that we've been going. There is another way. And yes, people do need support and accountability and encouragement and inspiration, and they need honesty. They need someone to tell them what works and what doesn't. They need someone to cut through the faff and be honest with them. And statements like 81% of members learned to cut calories without counting calories. How can you possibly know? Unless you were counting them at the beginning and counting them at the end, it's just marketing fluff and it means nothing. And fundamentally, if the NHS, if the World Health Organization, if these big bodies didn't think calorie counting was a sensible and safe option for you, they wouldn't all recommend it. There is a reason that there are apps springing up with huge levels of support on them and support systems like us to help people to calorie count because of the freedom and the flexibility it gives you. You can eat out, you can eat with your family, you can enjoy a normal life, you can understand what your body needs to do over the course of a period of time to be able to lose weight. It's not all on that one day. There are other options to consider. And if you have, as so many I know have had and developed an unhealthy relationship with food because of the unlimited food, because of the binging, because of the post-weigh-in massive snackathon, like if you're doing any of those things and you want support to be able to break those habits and reconnect with food, then please reach out and I will do my best to be able to help you. In the meantime, it looks like I'll be doing a few more of these.